Ready?
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. Shabbat Shalom, everybody,
Shabbat Shalom, Judas.
and welcome to another Shabbat where we have obeying God and His command to obey the Sabbath, to guard the Sabbath and keep it holy. We see that in Genesis, and during Israel's sojourn in the desert, He asked them to, they could gather manna 5 days, and then on the 6th day, they were to gather twice as much as they had on the 5 days. And as John always says,
The Sabbath is on God.
the Sabbath is on God, yes indeed. And so this week's Parsha is Noach, and it's taken from Genesis 6:9 through 11:32. And in my Torah is divided into 3 sections. It's the flood, Genesis 6:9 through 8:14, and then after the flood, Genesis 8:15 through 9:29, the nations, Genesis 10:1 through 32, Babel, and afterwards, the end of prehistory, Genesis 11:1 through 26, and man trying to and then as far as the case of Abraham, Genesis 11:27 through 32, and it begins. L.A. Toldot Noach ish savik tamim haya baderchav et ha'elohim hit chalech Noach. This is the line of Noah. Noach was righteous man. He was blameless at his age. Noah walked with God.
Psalm 134. Behold, bless ye the Lord, all ye saints of the Lord, which by night stand in the house of the Lord. Lift up your hand in the sanctuary, and bless the Lord. The Lord that made heaven and earth, bless thee out of Zion. This is the word of the Lord. Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. May your kingdom come, and may your will be done. We give thanks to you, Lord God, for you have brought us into your Shabbat, the day that you blessed and created and ceased from working at the beginning at the end of creation. And in time you commanded man to rest on this day, as you commanded our brethren the Jews, whom you brought out of the house of Egypt, brought them out of the house of slavery, and gave them this day that they can acknowledge their freedom, and that they can worship and sing and be joyful for the God who delivered them out of the house of bondage and made them free, and keeping the promise that he has made to your fathers Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we celebrate with our brethren the Jews, Lord, because Christ has freed us from the penalty of sin, and by sacrificing himself, giving himself on the cross, and paying the sin debt for us, that we can be reconciled back to you, that we can celebrate with glad hearts, that we can be encouraged that God still seeks to draw close to us and seeks a relationship with us. And we, Lord God, seek to be closer and in a new and closer relationship with you. And we invite you into this dwelling, Lord, that we may be close, we may learn of you and grow closer to you. For you have promised to return for us and to give us a place not made by human hand, but by the God himself, that we may be forever one with you. And we give thanks, Lord, to the Son who came for us, and the Spirit that remains with us. And it is in his name we pray. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min sar. Blessed art you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us bread from the earth. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Borei pri hagafen. Blessed art you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives us the fruit of the vine. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Shabbat shalom, Judith.
Okay. So we'll start with the flood. Genesis 6:9 through 8:14. This is the line of Noach. Noach was a righteous man. He was blameless in his age. Noach walked with God. Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth became corrupt before God. The earth was filled with lawlessness. And God saw how corrupt the earth was, for all flesh had corrupted its way on earth. God said to Noah, I have decided to put an end to all flesh, for the earth is filled with lawlessness because of them. I'm about to destroy them with the earth. Make yourselves an ark of gopher wood. Make it an ark with compartments, and cover it inside and out with pitch. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, its width 50 cubits, its height 30 cubits. Make an opening for daylight in the ark, and terminate it within a cubit at the top. Put the entrance to the ark in its side. Make it with bottom and second and third decks. For my part, I am about to bring the flood, waters upon the earth, to destroy all the flesh under the sky, in which there is breath of life. Everything on earth shall perish. But I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall enter the ark with your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives, and all of their lives, and all of their flesh. You shall take 2 each in the ark to keep alive with you. They shall be male and female, from the birds of every kind, cattle of every kind of creeping thing on earth. 2 of each shall come to you, to stay alive. For your part, take of everything that is eaten and store it away to serve as a food for you and for them. Noah did so, just as God commanded him. So he did. Then the Lord said to Noah, Go into the ark with your household, for you alone have I found righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean animal you shall take 7 parts, male and their mates, and of every animal which is not clean 2, a male and its mate. Of the birds of the sky also 7 pairs, male and female, to keep seed alive upon all the earth. For in even 7 days' time I will make it rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights, and I will blot out from the earth all existence that I created. And Noah did just as the Lord commanded him. Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, waters upon the earth. Noah with his sons, his sons' wives, went into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Of the clean animals, of the animals that are not clean, of the birds, and of everything that creeps on the ground. 2 of each, male and female, came to Noah into the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And on the 7th day the waters of the flood came upon the earth. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the fountains of the great deep burst apart, and the floodgates of the sky broke open. The rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. That same day, Noah and Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, went into the ark with Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons. They and all the beasts of every kind, all the cattle of every kind, all creatures of every kind that creep on the earth, and all birds of every kind, every bird, every winged thing, they came to Noah in the ark, 2 of each of all flesh, in which there was a breath of life. Thus they that entered comprised the male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him. And the Lord shut him in. The flood continued 40 days on the earth, and the waters increased, and raised the ark, so that it rose above the earth. The waters swelled and increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark drifted upon the waters. When the waters had swelled much more upon the earth, of all the highest mountains everywhere under the sky were covered, 15 cubits higher did the waters swell, as the mountains were covered. And all flesh, that stirred on the earth perished, birds, cattle, beasts, and all things that swarmed upon the earth, and all mankind, all in whose nostrils was the merest breath of life, all that was on dry land died. All existence on earth was blotted out. Man, cattle, creeping things, and birds of the sky, they were blotted out from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. And when the waters had swelled on the earth 150 days, God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the cattle that were with him in the ark. And God caused a great wind to blow across the earth, and the waters subsided. And the mountains of the deep and the floodgates of the sky were stopped up, and the rain from the sky was held back. The waters then receded steadily from the earth. At the end of 150 days the waters diminished, so that in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The waters went on diminishing until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st of the month, the tops of the mountains became visible. At the end of the 40 days, Noah opened the windows of the ark that he had made, and sent out the raven. It went to and fro until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out the dove to see whether the waters had decreased from the surface of the ground. But the dove could not find a resting place for its foot, and returned to him on the ark. For there was water over all the earth. So putting out his hand, he took it into the ark with him. He waited another 7 days, and again sent out the dove from the ark. The Noah knew that the waters had decreased on the earth. He waited still another 7 days, and sent the dove forth, and it did not return to him any more. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st of the month, the waters began to dry from the earth. And when Noah removed the covering of the ark, he saw that the surface of the ground was dry. And in the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth was dry. John?
Okay. This is, I guess, one of the sad stories. Some of the teachers say from Adam to the flood was 10 generations. And the mankind had become so corrupt that God said he was going to blot man out from the face of the earth. And in a sense, that's what he did, because Noah and his family were saved, but they weren't on the face of the earth, they were on the water. So God did say he was going to blot man out, and in fact, he did, because of the corruption. Now, the corruption was so bad, some say the corruption was violence, and there was no justice in the world. And this is why mankind was destroyed, not necessarily because of sexual behavior, but more because of the physical violence that was being perpetrated. And in a sense, there was no justice on the earth. So this generation was called the generation of the flood. And this was what was brought about was justice. God did not like what was happening and was sorry that it happened. Well, he was sorry that man became corrupt. He couldn't get any joy out of that. So something that started as good and very good ended up being corrupt. And you wonder, well, how can something that starts out good go bad? Well, what happened here, there was a generation that was not grateful or thankful for what God had done. And so God purposed to destroy the earth, all of flesh on the earth. Now, this was kind of a parallel too, maybe a little subtle to see, but it was a parallel of the 2nd day of creation. And what happened on the 2nd day of creation was that water was separated in the heavens and on the earth. And what happened here during Noah's time, the waters just rejoined again, And what is happening here is I don't want to say a creation of the universe, but a recreation, a creation of the world, a recreation of the world. Because we know first God face hovered above the water, and then he separated the water. But here, the water will be joined again, and it will be separated because then the dry land will show up. And you'll see herbs and vegetation. And the parallel is so neat. There was herbs and vegetation on the earth before man ever set foot on the earth. And it was true during the second creation of Noah. Because the dove brought back an olive branch, and he knew that there was vegetation on the earth even before man got there. So this is a parallel, a brief parallel of God recreating the earth in cooperation with man, as opposed to creating the earth independent of man. And I think this had to be the plan all the time. There's a bigger picture going on here. God is not just creating a world. Something bigger is going on. He wants to be in this world somehow. I mentioned last week where Adam said, "Bone of my bone," which means, well, this time you came out of man, but next time man will come out of you. And that will also be true, come out of man into the creation. But that will be true of God as well, because God will come out of the woman into this creation. So this is God's way of being part of creation, or having a relationship with creation. Some other thoughts here. Noah, they've said that Noah came up with some type of special farming techniques that helped them produce more crops and better crops. That's why his dad gave him the name, he will bring us comfort. And I think that we talked about that last week. But Noah had something special going for himself. Noah did, once he learned of the destruction, one thing he didn't pray for his fellow countrymen. He just was resolved to what God said. And anything else about Noah? I think even now some of the historians kind of bear out where that brings some truth to the arks. I shouldn't say truth. They found some evidence of the ark on Mount Ararat. It's in Turkey, but the government is a little not that good about letting us get that more evidence from it. But there's good evidence that that's the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark itself. Now, what has to be happening here also is, the earth was destroyed once. What would be the disposition of the people? It was destroyed once. What would make them feel a little bit more comfortable? It hasn't come up yet, but they had to have been very on edge, and hopefully we'll get into what would give them some type of satisfaction or put them at ease later on. But that's all I have for now.
Okay. The second part is entitled After the Flood, Genesis 8:15 through 9:29. God spoke to Noah, saying, "Come out of the ark, together with your wife, and your sons and your sons' wives. Bring out with you every living thing of all flesh that is with you, birds, animals, and everything that creeps on the earth, and let them swarm on the earth, and be fertile and increase on the earth." So Noah came out together with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives. Every animal, every creeping thing, every bird, everything that stirs on earth came out of the ark by families. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking of every clean animal and of every clean bird, he offered burnt offering on the altar. The Lord smelt the pleasing odor, and the Lord said to himself, Never again will I doom the earth because of man, since the devisings of man's mind are evil from his youth, nor will I ever again destroy every living being as I have done, so long as the earth endures, seedtime and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. God blessed Noah and his sons, and said to them, Be fertile and increase, and fill the earth. The fear and the dread of you shall be upon all the beasts of the earth, and upon all the birds of the sky, everything with which the earth is astir, and upon all the fish of the sea. They are given unto your hand. Every creature that lives shall be yours to eat, as with the green grasses I give you all these. You must not, however, eat flesh with its life, blood, and green grasses, and give you all these. You must not, however, eat flesh with its life, blood in it. But for your own life's sake, blood, I will require a reckoning. I will require of every beast of man, too will I require a reckoning for human life, of every man for that of his fellow man. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed, for in his image did God make man. Be fertile then and increase, abound on the earth and increase in it. And God said to Noah and to his sons with him, I now establish my covenant with you and your offspring to come, and with every living thing that is with you, birds, cattle, and every wild beast as well, all that have come out of the ark, every living thing on the earth. And while I will maintain my covenant with you, never again shall all the flesh be cut off by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God further said, This is the sign that I set for the covenant between me and you, and every living creature with you, for all ages to come. I have set my bow in the clouds, and it shall serve as a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant between me and you, and every living creature among all flesh, so that the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it, and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures, all flesh that is on earth. That, God said to Noah, shall be the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on earth. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Ham being the father of Canaan. These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the whole world branched out. Noah, the tiller of the soil, was the first to plant a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and he uncovered himself within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father's nakedness, and told his two brothers outside. But Shem and Japheth took a cloth, placed it against both of their backs, and walked backwards. They covered their father's nakedness. Their faces were turned the other way, so that they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah woke up from his wine and learned what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, the lowest of slaves shall be on his brothers. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be a slave to them. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell on the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be a slave for them. Noah lived after the flood 350 years, and all the days of Noah came to 950 years. Then he died.
Okay. I guess one story I guess everyone can appreciate is here about is the rainbow, and it has taken on much significance. And it's a beautiful thing, and there's no denying it. And sometimes I wonder, did the rainbow exist before the flood as well as after the flood? Some tend to think, yes, it still, it did exist even prior to the flood. But what happened was God put some significance on that rainbow, not necessarily for his benefit, but the benefit of reassuring man that the earth will not be destroyed again. This is the time where all the world was wiped out. All the people that Noah knew, they're all gone except for his family. So I'm almost positive he needed some like assurance that this wouldn't happen. Well, it wouldn't happen again, or wouldn't happen. Well, it wouldn't happen again in his lifetime. So God gives them this assurance that it will not happen again, which was something that's needed. We need to be reassured. Also in the story, God also tells them to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Well, he told Adam and Eve pretty much the same thing. So this is still part of the Genesis story, but this time it's not just the 2 people, it's the 7 people, I believe. And God is working with them, and they're working with God. There are no prohibitions per se, as it was in the garden, except you don't eat meat with the blood. In fact, something new happened where you can't eat meat now, but not with the blood. And if you do, it doesn't result in death, but you will be punished for it. So there are some prohibitions. The outcome is not as severe as it was in the Garden of Eden. What else do we have here? I guess the big part is, I think I've talked about it before. Noah was good at gardening. He planted a vineyard, and he got drunk. He just drank too much wine. He maybe was a little despondent.
Well, I have a question about that, since you're going to go to that part. And I don't know if I ever saw this before, but it says in verse 20, and he, meaning Noah, uncovered himself within his tent. What did the sages say about that?
Actually, I'm not sure. They've really not said anything other than it's pretty cryptic. They don't know exactly what went on there.
But I guess when I first saw that, because we're in previous lessons we always talk. Well, we see where Shem and Japheth walked backwards to cover him, and then the next thing we see is that he's angry because of what what the Ham did to him.
Right.
But in verse 22, it says he did uncover himself. So that, I just saw that. He uncovered himself. It didn't say that Ham did it. He uncovered himself. What does that mean?
Well, I don't know. I'll have to do a little bit more searching for that.
Because it's evident, because I know when they talk about uncovering nakedness, it usually is something sexual, a euphemism for something sexual. And I don't think it's not good usually, because in the prohibitions in the Torah about you should not uncover the nakedness of your mother and so it's something that is not good. So if he did it to himself, that's interesting. And again, I never saw that before.
Well, mine reads different. It said that Ham saw the nakedness of his father.
No, I'm talking about in verse, no, I'm talking about in verse 21,
Okay.
not 22. Because it says of Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father. I'm talking about the verse before that, 21.
Okay. Well, mine just said, and he was uncovered within his tent.
Yeah, and then mine, he uncovered himself, and in the Hebrew, I can tell you if it's himself. I'm sure it's himself that he uncovers. This is from Noach, Ish Chadamah, okay, and Min Hayan, the Yeshkar Yitgadav, the Toch Ha, okay, the Yer Acham, okay, before that, Adamah, the Yeshet Min Hayan, the Yishkar, the Yitgadav, the Toch, okay. I'm not sure. Anyway, something to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Ah, yes. That's
All right. We go on to the next. The nations. Genesis 10, 1 through 32. These are the lines of Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noach. Sons were born to them after the flood. The descendants of Japheth, Gomer, Magog, Madai, Yevon, Tubal, Meshach, Tiras. The descendants of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Riphath, and Togarmah. The descendants of Yevon, Elisha, Tarshish, the Kivtim, and the Dodadim. From these, the maritime nations branched out. These are the descendants of Japheth by lands, each with its language, and their clans and their nations. The descendants of Ham, Cush, Mitzrayim, Put, and Canaan. The descendants of Cush, Seba, Havilah, Sabta, Ramah, Sabtecha. The descendants of Ramah, Sheba, and Dedan. Cush also begot Nimrod, who was the first man of might on the earth. He was a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord, hence the saying, like Nimrod, a mighty hunter by the grace of the Lord. The mainstays of his kingdom were Babylon, Erech, Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. From the land Ashur went forth and built Nineveh, Rehoboth, Ir, Calah, and the Resen between Nineveh and Calah, that is the great city. And Mitzrayim begot the Ludim, and the Anamim, the Lahabim, the Naphtuhim, the Pathrusim, the Kashuhim, and the Kaphtorim, whence the Philistines came forth. Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heth, and the Jebusites, the Amorites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Argites, the Sinites, the Arvadites, the Semites, and the Hamathites. Afterwards the clans of the Canaanites spread out. The original Canaanite territory extended from Sidon as far as Gerar, near Gaza, and as far as Sodom and Gomorrah, Adam and Seboim, near Lasha. These are the descendants of Ham, according to their clans and their languages by the lands of nations. Sons were born to Shem, ancestor of all the descendants of Heber, and the older brother of Japheth. The descendants of Shem, Elam, Ashur, Arch, Arshad, Lud, and Aram. The descendants of Aram, Uz, Hul, Gether, and Mash. Archashad begot Shelah, and Shelah begat Eber. Two sons were born to Eber. The name of the first was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and the name of his brother was Yoktan. And Yoktan begot Almodad, Sheleph, Ha-Zah, Mafeth, Yarak, Ha-Doram, Uzel, Diklak, Obal, Amibael, Shib'ah, Ophir, Havilah, Yobab. All these were the descendants of Yoktan. Their settlements extended from Misha as far as Sephar, the hill country to the east. These are the descendants of Shem, according to their clans and languages, by their lands, according to their nations. These are the groupings of Noach's descendants, according to their origins, by their nations, and from these the nations branched out over the earth after the flood.
Not much there other than one thing that came up that's interesting was Canaan begat Sodom. I'm wondering if that's the name of the city.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see later of Sodom, so that
Mhm.
came from Canaan, who was the son of Ham.
Right.
Nimrod says he was a mighty hunter, but Nimrod
Hunter of what though?
was a hunter of men.
Mm-hmm.
He was a bad character.
Mm-hmm.
He was
His-
very brutal.
His name in Hebrew, as I told you
Oh, yeah,
before,
right. I will
is
rebel.
Nimrod. Yes, it says we will rebel.
Yeah.
What a name to have! It's a slap in the face of God when your name is your parents name you. We will rebel. We're not gonna go by the commandments of the God of Israel of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
We will rebel.
Mhm.
Nimrod. Whoa.
And
And the Canaanites, if we will remember, that's the land God gave the land of the Canaanites to Israel. And the Canaanites were a bad group of people. They not Ham per se, but his descendant, Canaan.
Right.
Yes, Canaanites. And from the Canaanites, that's where the giants were, in Canaan.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you a lot right there.
Mm-hmm.
It is Canaan.
Right. And that was the son that Noah cursed,
Mm-hmm.
saying he would be a servant all his life.
It's Canaan, yes.
Canaan, yeah. Our actions have consequences.
Yes.
So this is part of what was being played out.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. Let's say the war was divided, but doesn't go into much detail as how the divisions look. So I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
The next part is Babel after the end of history. Genesis 11, 1 through 26. And then after that, there's just 4 verses in it. The line of, it's pretty quick. It winds up pretty quick after that. And so this is interesting. I mean, here, this is pretty short when you think about it. These are short verses, but a lot happened in these verses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot happened. So, and you could probably study this ad nauseum, I'm thinking, because this is a lot packed in here. All the earth had the same language and the same words. And as men migrated from the east, they came upon a valley to the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to one another, "Come, let us make bricks and burn them hard." Brick served them as stone, and bitumen served them as mortar. And they said, "Come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the sky to make a name for ourselves, else we shall be scattered all over the world." The Lord came down to look at the city and tower which the man had built. And the Lord said, "If, as one people with one language for all, this is how they have begun to act, then nothing that they may propose to do will be out of their reach. Let us then go down and confound the speech there, so that they shall not understand one another's speech." Thus the Lord scattered them from there over the face of the earth, and they stopped building the city. That is why it was called Babel, because there the Lord confounded the speech of the whole earth, and from there the Lord scattered them over the face of the earth. This is the line of Shem. Shem was 100 years old when he begot Arpachshad, 2 years after the flood. After the birth of Arpachshad, Shem lived 500 years and begot sons and daughters. When Arpachshad had lived 35 years, he begot Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arpachshad lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he begot Eber. After the birth of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and begot sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he begot Peleg. After the birth of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and begot sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he begot Reu. After the birth of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and begot sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he begot Serug. After the birth of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and begot sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he begot Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and begot sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he begot Terach. After the birth of Terach, Nahor lived 119 years and begot sons and daughters. When Terach had lived 70 years, he begot Abram, Nahor, and Haran. All right, now we start getting into the meat of it.
I heard a teacher mention this, and I did double check it. The first 10, well, here, where we just mentioned, the name of Abraham has come up. Genesis is 50 chapters long. Abraham's name starts in chapter 11 and is in each chapter after that. So in 40 chapters we see Abraham's name, but not in the first 10 chapters of Genesis. So his name is everywhere in Genesis. I guess kind of similar to Moses. I think the first couple chapters of Moses' name is mentioned in Exodus, but then he's in all the other 4 books.
Right.
Now, this is the line of Shem.
This is after yes, Shem.
Okay. So this is where Abraham comes from.
Line of Shem.
And well, people are still living a long time.
But you see the diminishing,
Right.
especially when they start having children, because Noah was 500 years old when his sons were born. I don't know that means others were born to him before he was 500 years old. But.
Yeah. Now, one thing here, this talks about well, the whole world had one language, and they were building this tower. What they were actually doing was rebelling against God. They wanted to go up and supplant God. But God, even at creation, he set realms. He set an earthly realm and a heavenly realm, and the two should not mix. So they wanted to encroach on God's realm.
And evidently, we're getting pretty close to it, because God said, if they do this with just one language,
Right.
but again, also, the reason that they built this is they said they wanted to build it so that they wouldn't be scattered all over the earth. In verse 4, it said, they said, come, let us build a city and a tower with its top in the sky to make a name for ourselves.
Right.
Else we shall be scattered all over the earth. So they got their wish. They were scattered. They may have didn't wish it, but they, as a result of them doing what they did, they got scattered over the earth.
Well, one of their big mistakes is that they wanted to make a name for themselves. You know, you don't make a name. You're given names at birth. You don't make a name for yourself. That was one of their big mistakes. 2, they wanted to build a city. You know, it's a big mistake living in cities. Cities are notoriously corrupt. I know Cain was supposed to be a vagabond, but his descendants are long gone. These are the descendants of Seth. but the next one mistake was the building of the city park and making themselves a name. And to do that, they wanted to, they're in the process of rebelling against God. So God says, I'll tell you what we'll do. They want to destroy the world again. Just mix their tongues, or their languages, develop languages. And they couldn't communicate per se. And I got a feeling it was borderline slavery. If they really wanted to keep working, even with the tongues mingled, they would have figured it out. But it was slavery, and people found their freedom by having different languages, and they left. You know, there still could have been a few people who spoke the same language. They said, well, we're still going to do it. But I imagine the slavery there was so rapid. The only intelligent people didn't want to do the hard work. They wanted the working people were the ones who were suffering and said, we're not going to do that. So they left. The only thing you had left was the supervisors, and they didn't want to do their hard work, so they just stopped building it. But the idea of this was slavery at its height. And scattering the languages was an easy way to bring about freedom. And that's all I have for that part.
Okay. Well, the next verse, there are 3 verses. And as you just mentioned, it mentions Abraham. And it's Genesis 11:27 through 32. Now, this is the line of Terach. Terach begot Abram, Noach, and Haran. Haran begot Lot. Haran died in the lifetime of his father Terach in his native land, Ur of the Chaldeans. Abram and Noach took to themselves wives, the name of Abram's wife being Sarai, and that of Nahor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah and Ishkah. Now Sarai was barren, she had no child. Terach took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, the son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and they set out together from Ur of the Chaldeans for the land of Canaan. But when they came as far as Haran, they settled there. The days of Terach came to 205 years, and Terach died in Haran.
Yeah. Well, we're introduced to Abraham and Abram, sorry, and heir of the Chaldees. I'm not sure where that is, and no reason is given why they left going heir of the Chaldees, going to the land of Canaan. That was the land of Ham. It had to have been economics or something
pushing them to the land of the giants.
Right.
That's interesting right there. What would make them, when the giants were supposed to be fearsome people, what would make them go to Canaan? What we find out later on, well, we don't know right now, because I don't think they had gotten the call. Abraham hadn't gotten the call from God. He's just setting out. Okay.
So.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right. Well, next week is a very important Parsha for a long time. Because when I went to High Holy Day services in the synagogue that I attended, and around their building, in stained glass, they have the scripture written, Lech Lecha, from Genesis 12:1. The Parsha next week is Lech Lecha, Genesis 12:1 through 17:27. And it reads, Veyomer Adonai El Avram Lech lecha me'artzecha u'muladatecha u'mebeit avecha el ha'aretz asher al aecha. And I have to read this again because this is written in the Hebrew at the synagogue. And it says, Veyomer Adonai el Avram lech lecha me'artzecha u'memuladatecha u'mebeit avecha el ha'aretz asher arecha. The Lord said to Abram, go forth from your native land and from your father's house to the land that I will show you. That's written, and when I went to the synagogue, and it's one reason I wanted to have high holy days there is because that's written in the synagogue, and that's a commandment that I believe holds true for the nation of Israel today, and it should be written in all synagogues throughout the world except Israel, because God is calling them back to the land to which he had taken them out from Mitzrayim. He had taken them from Egypt to that land, and they were not meant to be out of the land. And now it's time for them to return to the land, and he commands it. Vayomer Adonai el Avraham lech lecha, go. So this should be a very interesting parsha next week, and I look forward to studying it to see what you come up with in your studies about lech lecha, go to your native land, go from the land of your birth, and the Hebrew for Adonai el Avraham lech lecha me'artzecha, from your land to the land of your birth, to the land of your fathers, to the land that the other land that I will show you. I think that's it. Okay. So I look forward to that study. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to try and do some extra study. I know I will be busy in the week to come, but I'm going to try and do a little bit before, so I have something. Because again, I think again it's a call that God has given to the nation of Israel, who still remains in the diaspora. He is calling to them to go to the land, Eretz Israel. We shall say something appropriate. You know what? I still like this song, and I think Israel is a light. It's a light beaming, and it's a light calling. If a light can call, which I think it is, it's a light calling to the nation of Israel. It's calling them home. And it's a lighthouse, it's a beacon. The land of Israel is a beacon, and it's calling the people of Israel home. And so I like to sing Brightly Beams Our Father's Mercy. Because again, we are a light, and I believe the light that we shine will be will somehow be a light that will get Israel home. That by looking at the light that each week that we sit at this table, and we set the table in anticipation of God's visit with us. And when God visits us, he visits us for a purpose that he has preordained. And the only thing he asks is for us to wait for him. As the 5 wise virgins did, they waited for the bridegroom, but not without hope and not without oil. And so we sit here waiting with our oil to hear from our bridegroom, who is visiting us on the 7th day as a rehearsal for when he comes to get us for the 7th day millennial reign, because he will come to get us so that we will rule and reign with him. And so this is a rehearsal. And so we set the table, we did as he commanded, we gathered, God has provided. Let me stop that. God has provided enough food so that we don't have to go out and earn it. You don't have to work not 1 hour of this day to get the provisions. God has already provided it. We have, when we get hungry, we just eat the food that has been prepared for us, that God has presented to us. And as we sit at his feet and we drink the wine to commemorate and eat his bread to commemorate his death and suffering, And we do that again in honor and in obedience to his command from the beginning of creation when he set aside the seventh day. And there's something special about this day. We may not know what it is, but doggone it, it behooves us to dig for treasure on this day. That's what I think it is. This day is full of great treasure. And the treasure is right here for the taking. If we would just stop our regular activities, our regular source of living, if we stop that and we sit at the Master's feet and dig for that treasure and ask him to reveal treasure, great treasure to us that we can only get if we're silent before him. And we are silent before him. We are taking of his beneficence during this time and his beautiful table that he has set and the wine and the bread that he has provided. So we thank him. And we desire him, and we plug into him to be filled up to overflowing from a week that has drained us. But he will fill us above and beyond what we need for the coming week. He will fill us on this day if we will sit before him at his feet. And we do that. And we thank him. And we sing the song for Israel. This lighthouse of the nation of Israel, the land of Israel, stands as a beacon that is beaming and is calling out for its people to return home. To return home. Brightly beams our Father's mercy from the lighthouse evermore, and to us he gives a keeping of the light along the shore. Let the lights be burning, send a gleam across the wave. Some perfecting struggling seaman, you may rescue, you may save. And our light is going to save many seaman who is drowning and doesn't know that they're drowning. May the light that we emanate just by the mere fact that we set this table each week for the seventh day, may it shine so bright in ways that we cannot possibly imagine. The fact that we set the table and we present the table before men and we say, come and join us. The Father is saying, come and join us. And to Israel he is saying, go home. The light is burning. It's beckoning you home. Go home. So we look forward to what the Lord is going to show us on the Shabbat. And we say,
Shabbat Shalom, Shavuot.
Shabbat Shalom, Shavuot. Have a good week.
Have a good week.
The whole world is waiting. Sing the song of Shabbat. The whole world is waiting. Sing the song of Sabbath. Whole world is waiting. Sing the song of Sabbath. Whole world is waiting. Sing the song of Sabbath. I'm also waiting, waiting to sing the song. I'm also waiting. Sing the song of Shabbat. Amen.